Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're taking an anatomical journey into the tech that's literally silencing our streets and zeroing out emissions. The electric vehicle. I mean, if you've been on the road lately, you've definitely noticed them gliding past you, right? But, understanding that they're clean and quiet is one thing. Actually understanding the mechanics of how they operate, well, that's another thing entirely.
It's actually a pretty fascinating mechanical mystery when you stop and think about it. Because when you pop the hood of an EV, what's missing is just as important as what's there. There's no clunky internal combustion engine, there's no gas tank sloshing around with fuel, there's not even an exhaust pipe. So if we remove all those traditional methods of combustion and propulsion, what's actually doing the heavy lifting to move, thousands of pounds of metal down the highway at 70 miles an hour?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the journey of an electron today. 1. The energy in the battery. 2. The translator controlling the power. 3. The muscle of the electric motor. 4. The magic of regenerative braking. And finally, 5. The future of charging.
Right, let's hit step 1, the energy, the battery. So every EV journey begins right here, with the lithium-ion battery tucked securely beneath the floor of the car. Now, you already know this tech from your smartphone, but an EV scales it up dramatically. We're talking packing thousands of individual cells to create this massive, energy-dense powerhouse, which ultimately dictates exactly how far you can drive. Engineers choose lithium-ion because, well, it hits the perfect sweet spot. It can store just staggering amounts of energy while still remaining relatively lightweight. Moving on to step 2, the translator, power control. Now, what's really interesting about this is a fundamental physics problem that every single EV has to solve. Basically, the battery and the motor, they don't speak the same language. The battery stores its energy as direct current, or DC, but the motor demands alternating current, or AC. So we've got this massive translation gap between how power is stored and how it's actually used. Enter our vital middleman, the power inverter. Think of it kind of like the highly intelligent brain of the power system. It steps in and instantly bridges that gap, converting the DC electricity into the AC electricity that the motor craves. But it does a lot more than just translate. The inverter acts as a gatekeeper. It carefully monitors exactly how far you're pressing down on the accelerator pedal, and then controls the precise flow of electricity sent to the motor to match that exact demand. And that brings us perfectly to our third stop, step 3, the muscle. Electric motor. This right here is where electricity literally becomes motion. It's this beautiful, elegant chain reaction. First, the inverter feeds AC power into the motor. That creates a powerful, totally invisible magnetic field. Next, that magnetic force pushes the motor's rotor to spin at thousands of RPMs. And finally, that spinning force transfers through a simple gearbox straight to the wheels. It is, quite literally, electromagnetism manifesting as pure speed. And this represents a massive paradigm shift in automotive engineering. Think about a traditional combustion engine. It's basically an explosion containment device with hundreds of complex, vibrating parts. But an electric motor, it's essentially just a rotor spinning inside a magnetic field. That's it. That elegant simplicity makes it wildly efficient, and it practically eliminates traditional maintenance over the entire life of the vehicle. Plus, that mechanical simplicity leads to a very distinct driving experience. Because when the car's computer tells the inverter to send more electricity, you're not waiting for gasoline to ignite or gears to downshift. The motor produces instant torque. The absolute second you press that pedal, you get this smooth, uninterrupted surge of power. And that's exactly why EVs feel so exceptionally quick off the line. Okay, let's move to step 4 and see how this builds. The magic, regenerative braking. So, we know what happens when you press the accelerator, but here is perhaps the smartest feature of the entire EV ecosystem. What happens when you slow down? What happens when you take your foot completely off that pedal? In a normal car, you just coast, right? Eventually burning off your momentum as useless heat on your brake pads. But an EV does something totally different. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. When you lift your foot off the pedal to slow down, the electric motor actually flips its function entirely. It stops being a motor and instantly becomes a generator. So instead of using electricity to push the wheels forward, the forward momentum of the car turns the generator, capturing that kinetic energy. It works in reverse, actively sending that energy backward into the battery as fresh electricity. It is a brilliant feedback loop. It extends your driving range, and it means you almost never have to replace your physical brake pads. How cool is that? Finally, step 5, the future, charging ahead. Of course, every battery eventually gets low. Which brings us to the final step, replenishing the system. Now, the time this takes depends entirely on the hardware you're using. If you pull up to a commercial fast charger, you can refill the battery in under an hour. And honestly, engineering is constantly shrinking that time down. Or if you're using a home charger, you just plug it in and it takes several hours to replenish overnight while you sleep.
So the crucial point is this. This elegant technology is driving a massive global shift, and it's easy to see why EVs are taking over. We're transitioning to vehicles that offer zero exhaust emissions, they're drastically quieter than traditional cars, and they run on hyper-efficient energy conversion. And because of all these compounding benefits, we're seeing a rapidly expanding charging infrastructure that is making this the standard for everyday driving.
It really is a beautiful closed loop of energy. I mean, you start with energy stored in a battery, you control it with a brilliant inverter, you spin the wheels with an electric motor, and then you recapture that energy with regenerative braking. It's amazing. But it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question for the future. As millions of these massive, highly efficient batteries hit the road, are we just changing how we drive, or are we building a giant mobile power grid that will eventually change how we power our homes? Let me know what you think. And hey, which machine or technology should we explain next? Leave your thoughts below, and we'll catch you in the next explain.